Welcome to the channel, folks. Today we're diving into a topic that's about as exciting as watching paint dry, but about 1,000 times more important. We're talking about helicopter tail boom strikes. Now, I'm not a pilot, but I've spent enough time around these magnificent machines to know that a tail boom strike is bad news. Real bad news. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of why these things happen, what's at stake when they do, and most importantly, how to prevent them. Because let's face it, nobody wants to see a helicopter spinning out of control. Not you, not me, not the poor souls flying it. So buckle up, grab your notebooks and pay attention. This information might just save a life. Or at the very least, a whole lot of expensive equipment. You know, folks, in my line of work I've seen my fair share of messes, but few things are as cringeworthy as a helicopter tail boom strike. It's like watching a perfectly choreographed dance go horribly wrong, except instead of a bruised ego, you've got a potential catastrophe on your hands. So what causes these things? Well, like most accidents, it's rarely just one thing. It's usually a combination of factors that snowball into a perfect storm of, oh shoot, one of the biggest culprits: unstable approaches and landings. Imagine trying to land a spinning top on a dime in a hurricane. That's kind of what it's like trying to land a helicopter smoothly, especially when the wind's kicking up a fuss. Speaking of wind, crosswinds and turbulence can make life miserable for even the most seasoned pilot. It's like trying to walk a straight line after you've spun around 50 times. You might think you're going straight, but your body's telling a different story. And trust me, helicopters are a lot less forgiving than the human body. Then there's low rotor RPM. That's a fancy way of saying the blades aren't spinning as fast as they should be. Think of it like trying to run through mud. You need more power to push through that resistance, and the same goes for helicopters. Rapid control movements are another factor. Picture a newbie driver slamming on the gas and brakes. Not pretty, right? The same goes for helicopters. Smooth and steady wins the race, especially when you're dealing with a spinning rotor just begging to make contact with something it shouldn't. Now, we can't forget about the helicopter itself. Some helicopters are just more prone to tail boom strikes due to their design. It's like some cars have terrible blind spots. You can be the best driver in the world, but if you can't see what's behind you, you're bound to bump into something eventually. And speaking of things you don't want to bump, let's talk about the dreaded inadvertent PTT pedal input. That's just a fancy way of saying the pilot accidentally hit the wrong button. We've all been there, right? Sending that text message to the wrong person, hitting reply all when you shouldn't have. But in a helicopter, that kind of mistake can have much bigger consequences. Finally, we have loss of tail rotor effectiveness. This can happen for a number of reasons, like mechanical failure or even something as simple as a bird strike. It's like losing your power steering in the middle of a turn. Things can get squirrely real fast. So there you have it. A crash course in the causes of helicopter tail boom strikes. It's a lot to take in, I know, but understanding the why is the first step in preventing these accidents from happening in the first place. All right, folks, now that we've covered some of the common causes of tail boom strikes, let's talk about why we're making such a big deal about them in the first place. Because let me tell you, these ain't no fender benders. First and foremost, a tail boom strike can be deadly. We're talking about a massive spinning rotor coming into contact with a critical part of the aircraft. It's not going to end well. In the best case scenario, the helicopter might be able to limp back to base for repairs. But in the worst case scenario, well, let's just say it's not a pretty picture. Even if everyone walks away from a tail boom strike, the damage to the helicopter can be significant and expensive. I'm talking hundreds of thousands, even millions of dollars in repairs. And that's assuming their helicopter is even repairable. Sometimes the damage is so severe that the aircraft is a total write-off. Beyond the financial costs, there's also the human cost. Every time a helicopter crashes, it erodes public confidence in aviation. And that's a big deal, because helicopters play a vital role in so many industries, from search and rescue to medical transport to firefighting. So, what are the specific risks associated with tail boom strikes? Well, let's break it down. One of the most immediate dangers is loss of control. That tail rotor, it's kind of important for keeping the helicopter pointed in the right direction. When it gets knocked out of whack, things can get hairy real fast. Then there's the potential for structural damage. We're not just talking about a few dents and scratches here. A tail boom strike can compromise the integrity of the entire aircraft. making it unsafe to fly. And of course, we can't forget about the risk of fire. Helicopters, like most aircraft, use flammable materials in their construction. And when those materials come into contact with a spinning rotor, well, you can probably guess what happens next. But the risks don't end there. Tail boom strikes can also lead to post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, for the pilots and crew involved. Imagine surviving a near-death experience like that. It's bound to leave some emotional scars. And then there's the impact on the families of those involved. Even if no one is physically injured in a tail boom strike, the emotional toll can be devastating. So yeah, tail boom strikes are no joke. They're dangerous, expensive, and potentially deadly. But the good news is, they're also preventable. All right, folks, we've covered the causes of tail boom strikes and the serious risks they pose. Now, let's shift gears and talk about what we can do to prevent these accidents from happening in the first place. The good news is that most tail boom strikes are preventable. It's all about minimizing risk and creating a culture of safety in the aviation industry. One of the most effective ways to prevent tail boom strikes is through proper pilot training. It's like learning to drive a car. You wouldn't just hop in and expect to know what you're doing, right? You need someone to teach you the rules of the road, how to handle the vehicle, and how to anticipate potential hazards. The same goes for flying a helicopter. Pilots need to be trained to recognize the conditions that can lead to tail boom strikes, and they need to know how to react quickly and effectively if they find themselves in a dangerous situation. This means hours of practice, both in the air and in simulators, until those life-saving maneuvers become second nature. But it's not all on the pilots. Aircraft design plays a crucial role in preventing tail boom strikes as well. Engineers are constantly working on new designs that are more stable, more maneuverable, and more resistant to damage. Think about it like this. Would you feel safer driving a car with a 5-star safety rating or a clunker held together with duct tape and prayers? The same principle applies to helicopters. Operational procedures are another important piece of the puzzle. This includes things like establishing clear communication protocols between pilots and ground crews, ensuring that helicopters are properly maintained and inspected, and developing procedures for dealing with emergencies. It's all about creating a system where safety is everyone's top priority, not just an afterthought. Of course, regular maintenance is crucial. A well-maintained helicopter is a safe helicopter. That means regular inspections, timely repairs, and using only certified parts. It's like taking your car in for an oil change. Sure, it's a bit of a hassle, and it might cost you a few bucks, but it's a whole lot better than blowing a gasket on the highway. But even the best training, the most advanced aircraft, and the most stringent maintenance procedures can't account for everything. That's why it's so important for pilots to be aware of their surroundings and to be constantly assessing the risks. This means paying attention to things like wind conditions, obstacles in their flight path, and the performance of their aircraft. It's about being proactive, not reactive. Ultimately, preventing tail boom strikes is a team effort. It takes a combination of well-trained pilots, well-designed aircraft, sound operational procedures, and a constant awareness of the risks involved. But when we get it right, when we work together to create a culture of safety, we can prevent these accidents from happening and save lives. And that, my friends, is what it's all about. Well, folks, there you have it, a crash course on helicopter tail boom strikes. It's not the most glamorous topic, but it's one that deserves our attention. Because at the end of the day, safety is everyone's responsibility. If you're a pilot, I hope this video has given you some food for thought. If you're not a pilot, well, maybe you learned something new today. And if you're ever lucky enough to take a ride in a helicopter, remember to thank your pilot for all the hard work they do to keep you safe. Until next time, fly safe. Next.